Today is November 24th of 2024, and 165 years ago, in 1859, Charles Darwin published on this day his book on the origin of species. Incredibly famous book. It changed the world, really. It sold out in the first day. There was like 1,200 copies, and all of it sold out, and so it was, in that way, quite a success. It took Charles Darwin over 20 years to write the book, and it wasn't easy, right? Lots of stress and grief about publishing something that would be so fundamentally different than anything that was out there. And then after, of course, there was lots of success and more writings, but of course more grief and hardship and controversy that exists really to this day. But today is about celebrating the book, and what's so interesting is that there was a time in my life where I thought the book and Charles Darwin himself were evil. Like he was trying to come up with this theory because he had sinister motivations, and the whole thing was just had this veil of deception, and it's so funny that I think the direct opposite now. And that's just kind of how life goes. You don't know where it's going to go, and in many ways it can just end up completely different than what you planned out. And in some ways that's can be amazing, and in other ways it's terrifying. But there's something about this book that I really enjoy. There's lots of great, lots of learning in there, and you can read it online for free or listen to it on YouTube for free with an audio book. But there's one story that I love more than any other. And so Charles is trying to figure out how an island in the middle of an ocean, so a volcanic island that's popped up out of the ocean, an oceanic island, how did it get covered in vegetation? I mean, it's a long time ago, and he's just trying to figure out how did that happen, right? Because when it comes out of the water, there's no soil on it. It's barren. So how did it get covered in trees? And he's beginning to realize, how long it would take for these types of things to happen. And that's what I love about him is you can read, in his life story, how he fundamentally changes his entire worldview. Could you imagine doing that? But that's a whole nother story. So he's trying to figure out how this vegetation got on an island, and he has all kinds of ideas. Maybe seeds floated there, and so he tests that out. How long can a seed last in salt water, or it gets caught up in some debris and floats there? But then he starts thinking about birds, and this is what I love about Charles. He's like looking at the dirt between birds' toes and finding seeds in there. That could be how it got there, or they're tangled in its feathers or something. But then he starts thinking about birds carrying the seeds inside their body. And so he knows that fish will eat seeds. He figures that out. And then, of course, birds eat fish. And so he's like, let's test this. And so he gets seeds and he sticks them inside a dead fish. And then he goes and feeds it to birds. And it's not like they're pet birds. He's feeding them to like pelicans and sea eagles. Could you imagine feeding these fish that you've stuck the seeds into, following these birds around and waiting for the bird either to produce a pellet, right, to regurgitate a pellet, or to poop them out? And so he does it, and he goes and sifts through bird poop and finds these seeds, goes and plants them to see if they can grow, and they do. Oh man, it's so awesome that you have this idea, and then you go and you test it out, and the story itself is just picturing it in your mind. It's hilarious to follow this bird around that you've fed this fish, this dead fish, and waiting for it to poop, and then playing in its poop to find the seeds. But I mean, I've planted seeds and watched them grow, but could you imagine for the first time seeing this seed germinate, and it's gone through the digestive system of a bird? And it's like, it's proof of what you imagined to be true. And for yourself, it was the first time that you imagined how an island could get covered in grass and trees, and you just kind of figured it out, and you did it. And oh man, it's so inspiring. It's so beautiful. And it's painstaking, some of these experiments that he did, just to try to sort through how it all happened and to figure it out and to back it up with proof and evidence. Oh, I love it. Anyway, you should read the book, and it's a day to celebrate. Just a fantastic publication. So hopefully you read it sometime. Anyway, thanks for watching.